Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, hi, everybody, and good morning to you. At least it's morning here for us in the Little Bear Meditation Center, north of the Arctic Circle. And the Arctic is with us up here. We're about 450 kilometers northwest of the Arctic Circle. So a little bit different climate, and we'll be here just a couple of days more, and then heading back to the south. And as I've been trying to tell people, we will have our continuing work today at 5 p.m. on the dissipation of glamour, and tomorrow, if all goes well, the Soul of Nations meditation, which will also be at 5 p.m. GMT. And but on Sunday, probably because we'll be on the train, I don't think we're going to be very successful in broadcasting because of the intermittency. We can see, and if you want to take your chances and we take our chances, we'll give it a try. Just to say that we've been, in our electrical system, we've been trying to track down a little chirp, little beep. I've been working here with Michael on the other side, and we don't seem to have it on the webinar, but on the broadcast we do for the moment. So we're trying to fix that the best we possibly can, so that it does not, interfere with your meditation. Now, I just want to welcome you, those of you who are here. I always try to do that a little bit, and at least once. So, hi, Annette and Antoinette, and Catherine and Jean-Pierre and Karen and Carrie and Marianne, Marissa, Mariut, Natni, Nienke, Stephen, and Tuya's here, of course, with me, and Vera, hi, and Zenaidi, and Michael is helping on the other side, for which I'm grateful. It's an early hour for the people in the United States. Well, I guess that's just the way it is for the time being. Okay, we have some quite symbolic language to go through today as we're working in the old commentary, and we've been dealing with this major triangle consisting of the Great Bear, Sirius, and the Pleiades. Now, there's a lot of blinds, occult blinds in there, and sometimes Sirius is a blind for the little bear, who is the second aspect, or the sun, S-O-N aspect. So, and then the Pleiades, of course, is an immense cluster of stars, and so maybe we're simply talking about the effect of the major 7 Pleiades and the 7 major stars of the little bear and the 7 major stars of the Great Bear. I think there's something like 144 stars in the Great Bear, but we're talking about a 7-fold system. So let's just have a little alignment here, very brief, and we'll get into our reading for the day, and you can take notes as you go along and see what is of interest to you. Obviously, this is all pretty deep material. It's found at the moment in Esoteric Astrology, where for 100 pages or so he goes into the science of triangles and its many applications, and elsewhere scattered throughout the books and collected by some compilers. I think Starling David Hunter, he's collected a lot of material, and he's letting us use that. We'll continue to work on the science of triangles until we manage to transform our own etheric network into the proper kind of network of triangles, with that particular triangle which indicates our stage of evolution being the most illumined triangle. And I've shown that to you in a treatise on cosmic fire right around page 169 and 170 and following, everyone has a particular triangle in their etheric body at any particular time, which is the most luminous and which indicates what they're working on, their stage of evolution, and so forth. So let's just acknowledge that we've come together, some 20-something of us here, and found in different parts of the world, you know, but that's not important. The important thing is the unified consciousness as we attempt to think together in the light of the soul and in the light of the group soul. We can do a lot of thinking with a concrete mind, but unless the light of the higher mental plane and beyond is influencing the higher, our normal thinking process, the higher conditions will not be real to us. So what we're doing is looking for the subjective energies behind many externalized conditions, including planets and stars and constellations. Those are all externalizations of inner force centers with their own particular quality. And we're trying to piece together the subjective causes of these many factors until a great network of interrelationships appears to us, and we understand through the pure reason of the Buddhic plane the why and the wherefore. Now, you know, we've been told that as the third initiation is approaching, that the disciple is on the mountaintop, so to speak. It's all symbolism, and sees the passage of the energies, and he is astounded, he is astonished at what he sees, how these energies connect with each other and move from point to point and underlie, I imagine, in important triangles, the various externalities or effects with which we usually deal. So may we move ahead to that point in our lives so that we too can see and understand the great network, subjective network, through which is revealed the passage of the energies. I will just sound the Om, confirming this approach. Excuse me. This hour, the Om has to be reconstituted. Well, let's move toward our theme for the day. And we are here in Esoteric Astrology, page 431. We call this day Columbus Day. You know, there's been a lot of contention about what that may mean for the different cultures, but it's about discovery, basically. And I mean, you know, we can't say who discovered America. It's a bit of a, especially when the Tibetan tells us that the present United States was the center of the old Atlantean continent. So we're not talking about who discovered anything, given that that may be the case. Well, anyway, but still, we have lots of discoveries to make. And we did our work last time on the Great Bear, and we saw the descent of the energies. Let's see if I can find them here from this chart that Joanne made up here. So the basic will purpose aspect going through the cosmic Manu, or the first ray aspect, the Great Bear, Leo, Saturn, Shambhala, and then going on to the head center of the initiate and the base of the spine of the initiate. Notice how the term changes, because the first and seventh rays rule the path of initiation. The third and fifth rays, interestingly, the path of discipleship, especially accepted discipleship, and the sixth and the fourth rays rule the path of aspiration for the aspirant. Anyway, it changes from initiate to disciple to aspirant, with the second ray pervading the entire process. So now we're going to begin our work looking at this second column and what he has to say about that in his translations of the old commentary. So it's the love wisdom line, and it's that contact we call consciousness, and the different force centers involved are Sirius from the cosmic perspective, Pisces from the zodiacal perspective is still really cosmic, Uranus from the systemic perspective, and Uranus is still considered to be a cosmic being, and then the spiritual hierarchy of the earth, the planetary heart center. And that takes us all the way down into the life of the disciple, where the heart center is touched and egoic love is experienced, the love as we find it on the level of the soul, and then the solar plexus. And you know, you'll find quite a few, you'll find 4 different triangles in this particular descent. If we don't start mixing them in other ways, you'll find Sirius, Pisces, Uranus, you'll find Pisces, Uranus, hierarchy, you'll find Uranus, hierarchy, heart center, and finally you will find hierarchy, heart center, and solar plexus. So there are quite a number of triangles which are found. And then, of course, if we want to start combining them in different ways, we might, but I think we can avoid that particular type of complexity. The Tibetan seems to give us these kinds of triangles, and they're all in order here. Page 435 of Esoteric Astrology, Leo, Saturn, Shambhala. And then our focus for today, Pisces, Uranus, hierarchy, and then we'll see how far we get, Capricorn, Mercury, and humanity. Now, all of these may seem like remote factors, but they are instrumental in making us what we are. And so we have to begin to think in not just human terms, but we have to begin to think in planetary terms, in solar systemic terms, and also in cosmic terms. There's only so far we can go into the cosmos, and truly so many of these things, as we think of them, are simply names with some qualities attached to them, but they will become more and more real as we ascend the ladder of evolution. So let's read this, and let's read it first. It's about the second line of descent, the second line of descent. And as shown here. Okay. The central light of Sirius shone through the eye of the sun. The vision came. The light of wisdom penetrated into the waters and cast the radiance of the heavens into the depths. At this attractive call, the goddess rose unto the surface, the fish goddess, the symbol of Pisces, AAB inserts that. The goddess rose unto the surface and welcomed the light within the depths and grasped it as her own. She saw the sun, having seen her sun, and from that day the sun has never left her. There is no darkness, there is always light. Well, you know, these are highly symbolic phrases. Let's go on a little bit more. And then the heavens within the ring passed not, responded to the light from Sirius, which, passing through the sea of Pisces, lifted the fishes into the heavenly sphere, Uranus, and thus a lesser triple light appeared, the radiant sun of suns, the watery light of Pisces, and the heavenly light of Uranus. This light descended on the waiting sphere and lit the galaxy of little lights upon the earth. A hierarchy of light emerged from its own place. The planet was a light. Now we'll see, you know, I think maybe we can discuss this much. Here, there are 3 columns, but there are 4 paragraphs, and I think the 3rd and the 4th paragraph have to be considered under the column where the Pleiades are the most important. So let's see what we have here and what we can make of this, and you can take notes as you go. It seems a long way from thinking about a fellow disciple and another fellow disciple and the soul-infused nature of everybody and the light and the love and the goodwill and the great invocation. Okay, that's what we must learn to do, and that's the practical part, and this is the theoretical part. So let's see what we can make of this. The language is not necessarily easy, but I've thrown in a few notes here and see what you think. The central light of Sirius shone through the eye of the sun. Well, okay. When we look at the first, second, and third rays, the second ray, which is the ray of the cosmic Christ, is the central light. It's between the light of spirit and the light of matter. So it is central in that triangle. Now, as far as our local cosmos system is concerned, and especially in relation to our sun and its solar system, Sirius can be considered a kind of cosmic Christ. When we come to Sirius, we have, this is what I think anyway, a ray to personality, a ray 5 soul, and a ray 6 to ray 2 monad. And if you look at the rays there, what you're going to see is that these rays are very much the same as Venus. Now, every one of our sacred planets in our particular system is closest to and represents one of the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one. Now, you find those 7 solar systems, maybe a little bit is, let's see, maybe I'll try one more Bailey book here. And if you went to Esoteric Astrology, page 50, you would see different major players in our local system. And right down here you find under magnetic energy and solar fire, the 7 solar systems. And we've named some of these stars, our own star, Helios or Sol, and Sirius, and Alpha and Beta Centauri, and Altair, and Fomolo. Let's see, there's probably one more that I'm, well, of course, Sirius. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Vega. Vega probably is there too. That is speculative, but these are 7 local solar systems which enact or express, probably, in my view anyway, the solar plexus of that great being we call the one about whom naught may be said. So from that perspective, our sun is a heart center within a solar plexus expression of a great being we call the unknown, or the true one about whom naught may be said. Anyway, here on page 50, you see some interesting connections. Sometimes when I look at this, I wonder whether the sacral center isn't involved, especially because Taurus and Scorpio are found there, and Mars as well. But I'll just have to leave that be. It's going to be either the solar plexus or the sacral center, and I think, I tend to think the evidence is on the side of the solar plexus center of that great being. Now, so the central light, which is the light of love wisdom from our local cosmic Christ, on every level, there's a different grouping of factors which transmit the cosmic Christ. It's been said, and someone who was doing a paper long ago for the University of the Seven Rays came up with a very interesting piece of information. And it was that on the head of the pharaoh, there was a replica of the Great Bear. And on the headdress of the pharaohess, there was Orion, with its 7 first magnitude stars, which leads one to believe that there is some strong second ray cosmic Christ component in Orion and some first ray component in the Great Bear, which we already know. So the Pharaoh first ray and the Pharaoh S second ray. That's possible. Anyway, so the central light shone through the eye of the sun, and the sun is the Christ aspect. So Sirius is the cosmic Christ for us, at least, and thus the sun. Now, the vision came. Now, we may remember that there are 7 methods of inducing soul control. Wait a second. Let me see if I get this correctly. Okay, so 7 methods. Oh, I wish I could spell, huh? Okay, sorry, or type. Oh, that's not too good, is it? Of inducing soul control in Esoteric Psychology 2. And the second method is called the quality of the hidden vision. And it is naturally connected with the second ray. The second ray is always conferring light and vision. And that's what its planetary representative, Jupiter, does. It always gives more vision and expands the consciousness. So the central light shone through the eye of the sun. Let's call that sun Sirius. From another perspective, the sun is the little bear, if we want to raise the ante a little bit and consider a larger aggregate of solar logoi. Anyway, Sirius is connected with vision, the second ray with vision, Jupiter with vision, our sun with vision, and vision creates a relationship between the observer and the observed. So we're still talking about not only love, but wisdom as well, because it's a dual ray. And wherever we find the second ray, there's some kind of balance going on between love and wisdom. You may recall that as the Tibetan talked to his disciples, he would identify some of them along the wisdom line of the second ray, and others of them perhaps more along the love line. And if you'll turn to page 518 of Discipleship in the New Age, Volume 2, you're going to see that the love line is divided into 2 parts, the pure love and the meticulous entirety part, where the true occultist like Master DK is found. Anyway, love and wisdom are the 2 major differentiations, and Sirius, since it has strongly a 5th ray soul, just like Venus, I do believe. It's my speculation at the moment. Plus the love of the 2nd and the 6th ray on the monadic level, it is perfect for expressing the combination of light and love, or of wisdom and love. The light of wisdom penetrated into the waters. Now, what are the waters? Let's see, the quote, waters, I was doing something there. The waters are space and matter. So the waters have a general kind of meaning of the substance of space and all the different differentiations of matter that we will find on the different planes and levels. So the light of wisdom penetrated into the waters and cast the radiance of the heavens into the depths. Now, what are the heavens? There's so many heavens. I would say that, let's put it this way, the seventh heaven is the logoic plane, where Uranus can be considered an important ruler. And remember that Uranus is called the heavenly one. But we are talking now about heavens that exist even above that. So in a way, every higher plane is a kind of heaven. And so if we look at this, all of these and their divisions are heavens. In a way, our first heaven is found here. You know, heaven and haven really are very similar, and it reminds us of this Cancerian protection that we experience when we are in that fold, we might say, the sheepfold, as it were. So on the fourth level of the mental plane is Devachan, but there are higher heavens all the way along and even into the cosmic planes. And so we're talking about cosmic descent. And if you look at the table of creative hierarchies, let's see if I can go here. Is that it? Wait a second. Table of creative hierarchies. Hold on. Here it is. Okay. I've got to get down there. Okay. So notice if I can get that far. Yeah, right here. Pisces is ruling a creative hierarchy, which is found on the third level of the cosmic astral plane. So when we talk about heavens and we reference a heaven in relation to Pisces, we're already up there on the cosmic astral plane, which is the plane to which the astral body of Venus is now responding, and the astral body of the logos of Earth is trying to respond, because, you know, the astral body of Earth is not in such a good condition as the astral body of Venus. Okay, so the light of wisdom penetrates all these waters of substance. And, you know, it always troubles me sometimes when I see Sirius, a dwarf star. Well, it is 33 times, at least 33 times brighter than our sun. So for us, it's a tremendous source. But when you compare it with the constellation Pisces, let's say, or any of these collections of solar logoi, why is it that the dwarf star is considered emanative and the logos of a constellation is considered secondary? I'm just not sure that we have solved that problem yet. So anyway, the radiance of the higher heavens from the cosmic astral plane and who knows beyond are cast into the depths. From the perspective of these higher beings, everything going on the cosmic physical plane is the depths. We aspire to these, what we consider the spiritual heights, but that's just from our point of view. What we consider our spiritual heights are, when compared to the aspirations of these greater beings, they are simply the depths. Okay, so now he's talking about the connection between Sirius and Pisces. At this attractive call, the goddess, notice how some of the constellations are, well, you know, they're beyond male and female and all that, and they are all hermaphroditic in a way, but there is a feminine quality to the negative signs, you know, Taurus, Cancer, Virgo, Scorpio, Capricorn, and Pisces. and a masculine quality to the air and fire. Okay, at this attractive call, the goddess rose unto the surface. The fish goddess, the symbol of Pisces, AAB helps us with these little comments here and there, and welcome the light coming from Sirius, right? This tremendous light coming from the central sun. Welcomed the light within the depths and grasped it as her own. So this is the transmission of love wisdom, light wisdom coming from Sirius through some kind of representation of Pisces. Now here comes an enigmatic phrase. She, the Lord or goddess of the constellation Pisces, because every one of these constellations is a force center and has a presiding Lord or goddess, whatever language we want to use. In other words, a great being working through the constellation. The Lord of the constellation Pisces, Lord of the constellation Libra. He talks about them. He doesn't mention them all, but you get the idea that every constellation is ruled by a great being. So that's the she here. She saw the sun, having seen her sun. Now this is enigmatic to me anyway. And from that day, the sun has never left her. Well, when we talk about the sun, we're talking about some kind of solar logos. When we talk about the SON, we're talking about the second aspect of divinity. Now, you do know that I think it's safe to say that Pisces, wait a second, if I can get this correct. Pisces is the sign of the Christ, preeminently. And finally, even though Gemini and Virgo, they are very important in the Christ energy, but finally it's going to be Pisces. And in the three cosmic decanates, you know how it goes. Hercules in Scorpio, that's the first ray. Christ in Pisces is the second ray. And interestingly enough, the Buddha in Taurus is the third ray. And you think about his monad on the third ray in this particular case. So she saw the bright solar logos of Sirius, and you wonder who is the sun, S-O-N, of Pisces? In what position is she really? Is Sirius somehow her sun? Well, this would reverse things, but then again, I think that's legitimate. Any constellation, it seems to me, is greater than a single dwarf star. But we'll have to let that go for the moment because there's no way for us to solve it. And from that day, she has been illumined. The sun has never left her, meaning the bright sun Sirius is shining through her, from her, illuminating her, representing her. Sirius and Pisces go together. There is no darkness, there is always light. And if we go to page, I think it's 329 or right in there somewhere, close, yeah. The lights. Look at this. The light of the world. Pisces, the light of the world. Every constellation of the zodiacal type has a particular kind of light. This is the light revealing the light of life itself. And notice what it says, because there's an idea of consummating light going on here. It ends forever the darkness of matter. Well, in the very beginning, go forth into matter, there was tremendous darkness for the people experiencing the glamorous, substantial world of Pisces when they started their incarnational history, but finally the darkness of matter is ended forever. So that makes a lot of sense in terms of this in Pisces. And we know that the two brightest kinds of force centers are conditioned by the fifth ray and by the second ray. Now think about that. Sirius is for us the brightest of the stars. Of course, that's a relative factor because of its position some 8 light years away. Nevertheless, its major rays are the second and the fifth. So it carries the idea of tremendous light, and associated here with the finality of Pisces, which is finally total illumination and the light of the world. If Pisces brings us to Shambhala, you know how it goes. If you take your last incarnation in Aquarius, it leads to the hierarchy. If you take your last incarnation in Pisces, it's more connected with Shambhala. And what we have in relation to our planet when we think of Shambhala is the unfettered enlightenment of Shambhala. So there's a lot of light, love, and wisdom coming through this line, and Sirius and Pisces are intimately related in terms of their sensitivity and their second ray nature. We have what's called in Sirius, the brilliant star of sensitivity. Think about that for a minute. The brilliant star of sensitivity. And then think about Pisces as maybe zodiacally the most sensitive of all of the constellations and signs. So that second ray sensitivity carries on through. All right. And then, because when we look at our triangles here, wherever they are, okay, well, I won't go to them. You've seen them before. And then the heavens within the ring pass knot, I suppose, of our solar system, responded to the light from Sirius, which, passing through the substantial sea of Pisces, it's all about the language of energy, lifted the fishes, and I'm calling these fishes all the different incarnated souls, especially man in this regard, into the heavenly sphere. And thus a lesser triple light appeared. And what is this lesser triple light? The radiant sun of suns, for us anyway, and that's Sirius, the watery light of Pisces, and the heavenly light of Uranus. Uranus is called the heavenly one, and a triangle is demonstrated, remembering Uranus and the seventh heaven. Now, I am going to go back here for just a minute, if I can find this. Yeah, there it is. And this is the triple light we're talking about. Pisces. No, we're not talking about that one. We're talking about Sirius, Pisces, and Uranus. It's not put in a triangle here. This is a triangle one step down from that. All right, now let's go on. Now I know this is look, what I'm trying to do myself and what I'm trying to help you do is to think in terms of pure reason. Now, pure reason is a capacity that is found on the Buddhic plane, and it is particularly ruled by Mercury and by Neptune and by Jupiter. But what we're doing here is the Mercurian phase of pure reason. And we are connecting things in such a way that eventually a wholeness of relationships appears. And then the wholeness, the whole, is definitely seen as one under the eye of Jupiter. So this is a occult technique which will help us put together all of the different perceptions from the different levels into one eventually seamless unity. I never thought about that word seamless, It means that it doesn't have the boundaries. That's one thing, of course, because seams are where you join one piece to another. But also it's reality, because reality is not seeming. Reality is beyond seeming. And once we get beyond seeming, we can enter the true oneness, which DK says is so essential. Okay, so the goddess rose to the surface and welcomed the light within her depths, and she saw the product of her efforts, which is the sun. She saw the sun Sirius, who is the son of God. Which God, you might ask, in a way, the one about whom naught may be said, and their relationship stays together, and there's always light. And let's just say there is no darkness, there is always light. And I want to put it down here: the light of the world, complete illumination, given the sphere about which we are speaking. Then the heavens within the ring past knot responded to the light from Sirius, which, passing through the Sea of Pisces, lifted us, the little fishes. The soul is a fish in a way, lifted the human emanation into the heavenly sphere, Uranus. We're going to be lifted towards the logoic plane, and thus a lesser triple light appeared: Sirius, Pisces, and Uranus. So let's just make them, put them into boldness, and we'll see what that lesser triple light is. Now, maybe the greater triple light is Great Bear, Leo, and Saturn. This light descended. Now, see, the ring past knot is our solar system, because all of this has to be considered in relation to our solar system. This triangle relates to our solar system: Sirius, Pisces, and Uranus, with Uranus already in our solar system. This light descended on the waiting sphere. That's going to be us, Earth, our planetary manifestation. And here's a special use of galaxy, which means a collection of force centers. The waiting sphere, and lit the galaxy of little lights upon the Earth. Whether higher beings or human beings, we are all little lights. Even the lords of the flame, which came from the Venus globe of the Venus chain, here, this is it, and I don't. You'll see it, and let's see if I can make this make sense. Let's see, somewhere. All right, here it is. Here's the Venus chain, the Venus globe, and the lords of the flame, including the passage of Sanat Kumara, came to the Venus globe of the Earth chain, and from thence to that particular globe which we call the Earth. Now, every one of these is a great being with its own monad. Of course, in a way, no one has their own monad. There's only one monad, but we're talking in the language of perception. There seem to be distinct monads. So all of these globe lords, they have their own inner structure. And that's where the lords of the flame came from. And the solar angels have followed that particular line as well. Not just from Venus, from the sun to Venus, and then into the Earth, to the part of Earth that connects with Venus, and down here into our fourth chain, where all of the activity is going on initiatorily at this time, and right down here onto our sphere of suffering. I think Tuya made this chart quite clear compared to the way it had been before, so you can study that, and it's in good shape. All right, now let's go on. So a triple light was created. Sirius is the radiant sun of suns. What a beautiful way of describing Sirius, at least relative to our Earth sphere. Okay. And then the watery light of Pisces. Now, you know, if it's a sign, okay. If it's a constellation, it's another matter. A sign is a lesser thing than a constellation. A sign concentrates the energy of a constellation in such a way that it can be used, for instance, on Earth. So it's a concentration of constellational energy. That's what a sign is. Okay, and then the heavenly light of Uranus. The light descended on the waiting sphere and lit the galaxy of little lights on the Earth, and that's the members of the hierarchy and all that. A hierarchy of light emerged from its own place. Now, you know, it doesn't say what that place is, but pretty much it's where the lords of the flame came from the part of our Earth scheme, which is connected to Venus. You know, when we look at this thing, here's the whole Earth scheme, and here is the Venus chain and the Venus globe, and that's where the lords of the flame are coming from before they reach our Earth chain and Earth globe. All right, it seems a little technical, but one day it'll all make sense. A hierarchy of light emerged from its own place, and the planet was a light. So this is all about how this triangle of Sirius, Pisces, and Uranus, which, by the way, has the same monadic ray as our little planet. It's the only one that has that first ray monad, the way our little planet has. Those three great factors stimulated the founding of the hierarchy on our little sphere and within our Earth scheme. So always the greater lights are helping the lesser lights to ignite. And then a new stage had been reached. The planet was a light. It had its own hierarchy, and that hierarchy reflected the great second ray stream of force. Of course, you know, in those early days, it seems like Shambhala and hierarchy were kind of blended together, a first ray and a second ray combination. But then they began to distinguish their work and eventually became two separate but related units dealing differently with the elevation of consciousness in our own little planet. Well, okay, you see there's a lot going on. We little people were born into this planet. We experience a kind of education according to the best that has been worked up so far. Really, we're all quite ignorant, and we had no idea of the depths of the ageless wisdom because that was held in the secrecy of the knowledge that was presided over by the priests of initiation in the various mystery schools. But now the mysteries are externalizing again, and we can have a much greater idea of the passage of the energies as they descend from cosmic sources right down here into our little Earth, and finally, even moving into our own heart center and our own solar plexus. And isn't it interesting that the second ray rules the heart center, the sixth ray rules the solar plexus, and the two monadic rays of Sirius are, in my view anyway, at first the sixth ray, the loyal dog following his master, and finally the second ray, the cosmic Christ. And what I've tried to show sometimes is that, I'll use Tuya's charts here. Okay, let's see, maybe over here. Right, that the first monadic ray is actually found on the monadic plane on different levels depending on the ray, but usually on the first 4 levels. And when that monadic vehicle, the Temple of Ezekiel, is broken, as all temples must break, then the volatile essence, the flying essence, goes into the logoic plane, where the monadic ray becomes one of 3. So the way I look at it, the second ray monad and the sixth ray monad, and of course, in order to do this properly for a cosmic being, we'd have to go way up here onto the cosmic monadic and cosmic logoic plane. Now, don't get discouraged about the far-flung nature of these speculations. The mind of the human being right now is not very developed, but we have a tremendous opportunity during the Aquarian age with its inherent fifth ray to really increase our knowledge of these factors greatly. And we will do so. So, you kind of look at your pet, your cat, your dog, whatever, and you say, my goodness, there's a tremendous separation between what they can conceive and what we are thinking. And thus it is between us and the greater beings. But we are on our way. That's the point. We are on our way. And one day, the full omniscience, not only of our solar system and our local cosmos system and our galaxy and on, full universal omniscience will be reestablished in the consciousness of every emanation from the universal one. Okay, friends, I know you know that I think and you think that I've talked enough. So now it's time for your thoughts, whether they deal specifically with this great second line of descent, which has established the hierarchy and which has established our soul on the higher mental plane, and where it all came from. It's time to discuss that, or whatever else in the field of occultism that you would like to deal with, as really there's only one field of knowledge in occultism. They may seem like different disciplines, psychology, healing, education, whatever, all different disciplines. It's only one sphere of interrelated knowledge and light. All right. So your thoughts, your questions, whatever you may have. And so Vera, Go ahead, Vera. Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. Hello, Michael. I will attempt to verbalize what I was thinking. So when you were talking about the relationship Sirius and Pisces, that you were sort of thinking how come that Sirius of lesser magnitude in terms of volume is superior to Pisces. Okay, and I was thinking, Pisces, the light of Pisces is the light which reveals the light of life itself. So to me, it's like revealing the first aspect, the light of life itself. Then Pisces also relates to Shambhala, again, first ray.
Yes. Yes,
And
it does.
the Pisces is a constellation under which we make the ultimate sort of sacrifice. It's a death of all desire, which is again like abstraction to the monad. And Uranus is the seventh ray planet, which is instrumental in that abstraction, the highest and the lowest meet. So my thinking was that the Pisces is sort of like pointing to that first ray, to that really ultimate abstraction.
Abstraction, you're saying abstraction, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yes, I think it does, especially through its ruler Pluto, and it may be that every one of the constellations has three major rays, just the way a human being does. Now, we are given two of them, right? For Pisces, we're given the second ray and the sixth ray, and it fits perfectly. It fits perfectly with Sirius, with its loyal, blissful dancing points of fanatical devotion, you know, that kind of sixth ray thing that leads you to the cosmic Christ. So the 2 and the 6 are at least obvious at this time. When it comes time for the next solar system, we will see about the way that the first ray might develop in Pisces. Now, see, Vera, one of the things that I constantly think about is that there are constellations and there are signs, and I think there's a very important quotation in Esoteric Astrology. I don't know galaxies. I'm going to show you what it is. There it is, and right here. Let's see, galaxies of stars, 7 stars. It says something about, wait a second, galaxies and signs, concentrated, I hope I can find it, you know, because it's a great quote. There it is. All right, here it is. Now, if we could ponder on this, we could maybe solve the question about the preeminence of a constellation over a sign and over a star. Pisces is appearing to us in 2 ways. And let's see if we can, reading this, get something out of it. It's page 621 and 622. In the understanding of the significance of the distinction between constellations as galaxies of stars, meaning groupings of, and signs as concentrated influences, will come fresh light upon the science of astrology. This is fundamentally connected with the difference between the relation of array energy to the triangle of constellations and the human relation. More I may not say, but this will give a hint to the intuitive astrologer. So this is the area that shows us a great constellation and also an aspect of the Earth's aura which concentrates the influences of the constellation. And my present opinion is that while Pisces as a constellation may be greater than Sirius, Pisces as an area of concentrated influences is lesser. And so, you know, we have a way for Sirius again to be in between and the middle one. So I'm not, you know, we could spend a long time on that one, but that's very important. Now, here's another thing to think about. This great being that we call the one about whom naught may be said, it has a heart within the head center. It has a 12-fold lotus in the middle of its head center. And every one of the constellations is one of those 12 petals. Now, look at your own system and go into the very strongest part of the head center, which is that 12-petal lotus, and one of those is Pisces. Now, will that particular area of concentration within your head center be stronger or weaker than the lesser chakras? And you can tell what I'm hinting at here, that I contend that since that's the major center within the head center, that it's going to be stronger than the other chakras that are found in the normal system. So I think there's an analogy there, and I think that if we follow out some of these suggestions, we may come to it. As far as the first ray of Pisces, let's just wait for the next solar system. We get some hints about it right now, but the only two rays he's given us are 2 and 6. But I agree with you that the first ray is certainly implicit in the way Pisces operates towards the final abstraction. Okay, so that's something to think about. You bet. Okay, very good. Thank you, Vera. Tuya, go ahead, please. Wait.
Yes, it takes all. Good morning to everybody. It always takes me time to get this working. This is so a synthetic thing what we are trying to study, and that's why how to find any way in to understand anything. So I was again thinking, we start by saying the central light of Sirius shone through the eye of the sun. The vision came. So thinking about this line of the eye, and we were talking earlier that we would be studying the whole idea of the eye and what kind of groups are related to the eye. And we find that when the nerve, the vision nerve is created, it is one job of the Agnisurians. So we see that we have the sun there. We talk all the time about the sun S-O-N, and we talk about the sun S-U-N. So they seem to be, in some sense, equivalent to each other, sun and the sun. But Michael, can you take this chart where we have the 7 planes? I tried to, something what came to my mind. what is just, it just came while we were talking, so this thought is not ready at all. But when we go to mythology of the Cronus and Uranus, so Uranus is the father of Cronus, who is the Saturn. And when we study these planes, the highest plane is also governed by Leo, and the highest ruler is Uranus in Leo. So that the highest plane logoic plane, we can find the influence of Uranus. Then when we study Cronus, who is the Saturn, can you hold that still there, Michael? Okay, then we think about the monadic plane. So we see that there is a Virgo, which is the opposing sign of Pisces. And as DK refers, that there are only 6 signs. So in one sense, Pisces and Virgo are the same. So we are, it's worth for us to think about that way. So we see the Pisces there on the monadic plane, and the children of Cronus, Saturn. Please, Michael, hold that, because don't go anywhere else. No, I just need to see that chart. Yes. So when we think about the lineage from the Uranus to the son of Uranus is Saturn, and the sons of Saturn are Pluto, Neptune, and Jupiter. So all these effects we find on the monadic plane. They are hidden, of course, but if you study about the chronology, all these, how the planetary energies are functioning. So then we find all of that on the influencing on monadic plane. And what is interesting, so the wife of Uranus was Rhea or Gaia, the mother earth. So there is something interesting going on in the karma of Earth, and Aphrodite, what is Venus, which is one of the aspects or the monadic plane when you think about how the Venus is influencing us from very high level. But Gaia was the one who was giving the sickle, which was made from the sharp stone. When you think about the manifestant, that it is like indicating the time, which is freezing or stoning things. And that is in the hand of Saturn, which was the son of the Gaia, in very, whatever historical, ancient ways, how these energies were working. And then Cronus, the son of Uranus, is castrating Uranus. So the son castrates the father. And from this is born Venus. So in this stoning process, when things are going towards the matter, so the soul, Venus quality, is rising from that stoned, freezing, frozen energies. And that made me think, what DK, if you take the page, Michael, from Esoteric Astrology from 219. These are very complicated things when we try to make the synthesis out of this, what is happening. And this is in the line of I, that is something what I try to keep in our minds. So there is that Esoteric Astrology. Go a little bit lower, get it near the, yes, still take the last sentences of this near 220. Page 220, a little bit lower, go a little bit lower. Still so that we can see the word demonstrated in the end. That paragraph, because it's long paragraph. Go still lower, Michael. Okay, here. So it said that in this world period and in a peculiar manner, as far as the race Aryan to which the Western world belongs, Neptune is known esoterically as the initiator. In certain ancient formulas, the great teacher of the West and the present world initiator, Christ, is spoken of as Neptune, who rules the ocean, whose trident and astrological symbol signifies the Trinity in manifestation, and who is the ruler of the Piscean age. The formula runs as follows, speaking esoterically. The fish goddesses who have leapt from earth, Virgo, to water, Pisces, unitedly give birth to the fish god, Christ, who introduces the water of life into the ocean of substance and thus brings light to the world. Thus does Neptune work. This is, however, a great mystery, revealed only at the time of the second initiation, in which the control of the fluidic astral plane is demonstrated. So we talk here the Neptune, and even though we were talking about Uranus in that triangle, so that's why I was, it just came to my mind about this story in the mythology, how Uranus is related to all this drama and these planetary energies, and what would looks like when we study Pisces, we should look the monadic plane as well and think about that what we were just reading here, which is telling about our own story, how we came into being.
Yes, these are important connections.
I cannot hear you. Your mic.
Now you turn yours off. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. This is an important network of relationships. We know that Venus is the lower octave of Neptune, and that in a way, Uranus finally will be the father of the gods in the next solar system, particularly. So the full extent of Uranian creativity is not yet demonstrated. There are lesser creators, and that's the symbol of the castration of Uranus. His full power does not descend creatively onto the lower planes, and other lesser creators, namely the soul aspect in this solar system, have to take over. But eventually it will be the full creativity of the father of the gods, which is Uranus. So this is a very obscure thing, but I agree that we must look to the monadic plane and even to the logoic plane, where Uranus rules Leo hierarchically, in order to understand the deeper implications of what the Tibetan is presenting here. So that's quite an expansive point of view. Okay, are we good there, Tuya?
Yes, we are. I tried to contemplate this by myself, but it's really interesting relationship, and the whole thing about this goddess and fish god and fish goddess and Christ.
It does take us up onto the monadic plane very definitely, because the monadic plane is ruled by, turn yours off, dear. Turn your microphone off. We're on different sides of this little house, and we're in each other's microphones all the time. But it's ruled by Virgo. That's why I turned to this. Monadic plane is ruled by Virgo, but what is the mantram of the monad is a Piscean mantram. I leave the father's home, and turning back I save. It's exactly Pisces, and the saving aspects of the monad are ruled by Pisces. So we have here, the whole Neptune, Venus, Virgo, Pisces combination, all ruled eventually by the father aspect, which has not yet come into its full expression. Okay, now let's see here. We have
and Veronica has several questions.
Yeah, I've got it right up there, Mike. Let's see now. Please say again the 7 solar systems and what is the equivalent of the globes and chains to soul monad's many lives. On what plane are each of the 5 first higher unknown hierarchies? Let me answer the last one first, as far as I understand. The last 5 hierarchies are, okay, now I have to go back to this one. Here we go. They are found focused on the cosmic astral plane. The lower 5 levels of the cosmic astral plane, which certainly for us is a huge leap, because it's not until the 9th initiation that we can actually stay with the cosmic astral plane and really begin to learn what is there. So these particular lords of constellations are, as far as our humanity and our planet concerned, because it might be different elsewhere, are focused on the 5 lower levels of the cosmic astral plane. And when we are asking about the cosmic astral plane, the Tibetan says, what will we find there? He says, I do not know. I have not been there. He says, I'm paraphrasing. So obviously, this is beyond the reach even of a master of the wisdom, even beyond the reach of a Chohan of the 6th initiation, and maybe the Christ of the 7th initiation is just beginning to come in touch with it. By the time you take the 8th initiation, it's called transition. It means transition to the cosmic astral plane. And notice the figure 8, rising into the cosmic astral plane, descending to the cosmic physical, rising, descending, rising, descending. And it's only at the 9th initiation that it is in a way forbidden to return to the cosmic physical plane until further training has occurred. So that's where we will find those higher unknown. It doesn't mean they're not influential right here in our normal world. It doesn't mean that. They are influential, but in terms of their fuller type of expression in relation to these high groups of monads, because that's what a hierarchy is. It's a collection of monads, okay? So that takes place on the cosmic astral plane. Okay, now the 7 solar systems. All right, all right, let's call Sirius the head center. Let's call Procyon the Agenus center. Let's call Vega the throat center. Let's call Helios, or soul, our solar logos, the heart center. Let's call Fomolo the solar plexus center. It sometimes looks like Fomalhaut, but Fomolo, the solar plexus center. Let's call Alpha and Beta Centauri the sacral center. And let's call Altair the base of the spine center. Now, I have my justifications, but other people will see it perhaps in a different way. Sirius does seem to be the head of the whole thing in these 7 solar systems, and it is the brightest of the stars in the 7 solar systems. Now, this next question, I think, is probably too complicated to deal with. What is the equivalent of the globes and chains to the soul monad's many lives? I would have to try to understand that a little better than I do. Let's see. If I go over here and going back to what has been created for us, let's see. Wait a second. I wonder where his 2 is. Okay. There it is. Well, every one of these is obviously a chakra. And how they are counted is a big question. In other words, is our I'm sorry, is our little earth chain, which is the fourth chain, to be considered the heart center, because the heart is the fourth chakra? Head, ajna, throat, heart? Or is it to be considered the base of the spine chain? And I think there's a lot to be said for that, because the entire scheme is the base of the spine of the solar logos. So when we have the replicas of the scheme as found in the earth chain and in the earth globe, we might say that these are connected with the base of the spine in any of the systems. Now, so, it's probably taking a lot of, I don't know, this is really, really speculative, because only a few of these chains have been developed. You notice how the first chain and the second chain have in them a generic pattern which has no geometry. And in every one of the other 5, the geometry is pretty unique, including Earth. And take a look at what's going on in Mercury here and in Saturn. Maybe that's not generic, but look over here with Mars. So we have no way of knowing exactly. The Mars chain may be connected with the solar plexus. The Venus chain may be with the heart. The first and second chains may be connected with the ajna and the head center. The sacral center, it's hard to say. So I will just leave it at this, that if we ponder on these chains and all of their triangular relationships, both developed chains and undeveloped chains, then we will probably find a way that within the Earth scheme, different chakras are being represented by different chains. Now, when I think about Venus, there's a very good possibility that it's either the heart chain or the ajna chain. It depends on whether we count like this: 1, 2, or 1, 1, 2, or 1, 2. You see, you can look at the ajna center as number 2. You can look at the heart center as number 2. So I don't think the answer to this question can be confirmed in any way, but I do know this, that the next area of development in our planetary scheme is the Mercury chain. Now, this Mercury chain is the 5th, and it's already rising from the lowest point, which we consider the Earth to be. And after the 7 rounds of the Earth chain are completed, then we move on to the development on the Mercury chain, and then maybe Mars, and then whatever this 7th chain is. Jupiter, by the way, has a lot of 7th ray in it because it rules ceremonial magic. And, that is on the 7th ray. One of the major rays of Jupiter is the 7th. So probably, Anne and Veronica, it's a question that is probably just too much for right now, at least too much for me. I can make different speculations, but there's no absolute confirmation. By the way, interestingly enough, this used to be the moon chain. It was destroyed in a way, and all the lives of the moon chain were moved into the earth chain. And now a chain exists here on higher levels, but it's called the Saturn chain. The only chain that has a living, dense physical vehicle is the fourth chain, and our fourth globe is the dense physical vehicle. So this is a huge study, and as Master K.H. once said, when he was being questioned by A.P. Sinnott about these kinds of things, he says, look, you're asking questions which are relating to the secrets of the sixth initiation. So I can't really divulge this. And I think, you know, when we're dealing with this kind of map, fantastic map, okay? There are going to be places where we're just going to run into a wall, and that's just that. Now, the next higher chart with its unique geometry, notice, every one of these has a unique arrangement. Very interesting. And notice this Mercury thing with its kind of diamond shape is very much like the Mercury chain. See, here's the Mercury chain, here's the Mercury scheme. There's a lot that's similar, but different. So a whole study of each one of these spheres and their geometry is required, but it's highly, highly speculative. And by the way, look down here. Here are the dense planets. Which are they? The Earth, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, Mars, and Vulcan, a dense planet, and Venus. So, you know, some people have wondered about Vulcan. Is it etheric? Is it dense? The Tibetan says it's a dense planet. And notice how right up here at the top, again, we have a generic arrangement, one that doesn't tell you much except that there are 7 parts. There's no real geometry to it, and that's because the higher centers in a human being or the higher centers in the solar logos developed later, and their geometry will emerge when the time for their development has come, meaning that Neptune and Uranus, representing very high centers in the solar system, have not yet consolidated into their true function and geometry because of the state of evolution that our solar logos is found in. He's just not there yet. And when he is there, then these two will also show their true geometry. Right now, he would be revealing some of the highest secrets, and obviously he can't do that. All right, so that's quite a question you've asked, and you know, what can I say? That's about all I can say. Yeah. Michael, is that you?
Yes. And Veronica also asked, could this complex geometry be also in our base of the spine and in every chakra?
Yes, because every one of these is a chakra. So look at the geometry within any chakra, and you will probably find, once we entered the human chakras, that some sort of unrevealed geometry is there, though in some of the Hindu books, the kinds of geometry that you might find, I don't have any pictures of it right now, in any one of the chakras will be in process of being revealed. So yes, there's going to be a sevenfold geometrical presentation in every chakra. And now, when you want to reconcile the Tibetan system with the Hindu system, it's not easy, okay? Because there are just real differences, okay? But one day those things will be reconciled, and I think your question is on the target. There is a geometry to each one of the chakras, and the hint lies in some of what we're seeing here about the higher kinds of centers and schemes and chains. Now, even every globe will have its own geometry, and that is not demonstrated as far as I know. Only the relationship of the globes to each other, some of them being bigger, some of them being smaller, and that is significant. See, where they're all the same size, you know we're not being given the full story. But here there's bigger and smaller. Here there's one bigger and others smaller, bigger and smaller, bigger and smaller. So it has to do with the prominence of any sub-chakra at any particular time of development. And this is what Master DK says. He says, it's a very intricate study. It's too intricate to go into everything. But if you happen to be on the third sub-aspect of the second ray, you're going to want to go into everything, because that's the ray of specialized detail and detailed unity. And that's Master DK's emphasis, and that's what he is trying to show us. So all we have is a few hints, but in the new esoteric schools, which are coming in the coming centuries, these things will be worked out. And who knows, in another 7 years, Master DK begins to talk about astrology again from the year 2025. Let's see what the revelation may be. Okay. Okay, now look, I know this stuff is complex, but you know it's not that complex. And as DK once said to us, look, he says, I've given you a lot of detail in this book, Esoteric Astrology, and it seems overwhelming, but is it really so much more packed with knowledge than the average text in chemistry in an ordinary school? And he says, I think not. It's just a different kind of learning, which involves the abstract mind and the intuition, but in terms of the amount of factual detail, well, it is manageable. And if you stick with it, you will manage. And just like I remember my organic chemistry text, I loved chemistry, but organic chemistry, I think, defeated me. I couldn't see the purpose. And it was filled with incredible detail. I find this much easier, much easier. So it is manageable. And the intuition is stimulated, you know, and this one for Mars is amazing to me. This Mars chain of the Earth scheme, amazing. Triangular formation, two triangles, inner triangles bigger, not numbered, apparently. Not numbered. And that's interesting too. Let's see if I can get over to here. I don't want to distract too much. Let's see if I go a little further back. There, that's it. And here again, not numbered. So here's the fullest exposition. Big and small and numbered. Big and small and numbered. Big and small and numbered. Although you might question whether big and, yeah, there's some smaller ones and some big ones. Big and small, not numbered. And over here, less information, all the same size and not numbered. And over here, again, not even any geometry and not numbered. So the degree of revelation that he gives us for any one of these chains is not the same. Is not the same. But look, you know, as students of occultism, we have to learn to be patient. DK has given us, just imagine you were living your life and there was no revelation from the Theosophical Society and from Madame Blavatsky, and no revelation from Alice Bailey and DK, and you were interested in realities, what would you be thinking? What would be your estimation of the universe or of our solar system? What? See, tremendous has been given, but like Alice Bailey said, it's just lifting the curtain just a little bit upon the fantastic ageless wisdom, which is in which even our planetary logos is just a beginner. So patience for all of us. I speak to myself, you know, patience, and we will grow into the revelation. Okay, is there anything else, friends, that you want to speak about or ask? And I do appreciate your questions. I do indeed.
Tuya has her hand raised again.
Okay, thank you. Yes, dear, go ahead. Go ahead.
Note, when we look this Earth scheme, we can also study that, like the Kala chakra, and what is going on in the highest center of our planet. Just that quick note, nothing else.
Turn on your microphone, please.
We have many analogous stories, and they are embodied in the different religious philosophical traditions, and they all reflect these archetypal relationships, some better, some not as good. And let's just say the pattern in the heavens, of which Uranus is the major planetary ruler, the ruler of all final archetypes on the planetary level, that pattern in the heavens is descending into the man-made patterns, and that's the way we come to understand. But DK has come along and given us some of the archetypal patterns. So he's added a degree of revelation to our normal analogizing. We could analogize and so forth, so forth. We'd never come up with this kind of information, never. So the question of gratitude here to the revelation that the Master has accorded us has got to be very substantial gratitude. At least, you know, I've been studying this stuff for 50 years. Yeah, 50 years. And maybe a little more. And I'm convinced that if the hierarchy had not given us the details of the archetypal world, given the usual illusory thinking of the human being, we would be far, far behind in our appreciation of the archetypal worlds and the real origin of what's going on right down here. So, you know, when you think about it, all the suffering they've been through and being human beings like ourselves and having won through and won the day and then bringing back to us what their vision has revealed, it's a huge service. And I know you would agree with me on that. And therefore, let us take full advantage of this revelation, because it's not coming from anywhere else, at least not now. There's a huge gap between, well, the very worthy accomplishments of science Very worthy, but the science of the initiates is way, way up there. And that approximation between the two is a slow process. So we've been let in at the upper floor in a way, and the wisdom can descend from above and educate scientific inquiry so that it can occur more rapidly. Okay, now I think that may be it, and I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your patience in this. I know. Look at all this stuff, you know, and obviously look at all those triangles and squares and spheres, and look at the relationships and look at their destinations, you know, the different schemes to which they go. It's a lot to take in. But if you care enough and you want to see how things really are, you will take it in. And whether it's in this life or the next, the picture will be filled out, and a much more satisfactory sense of the wholeness and the relationships within the wholeness will dawn. Now I'm going to ask, if that's okay to you, what I've got here is this.
Yes, Michael, I do shortcuts and you try to follow as the best you can. Yeah. And so we start the meditation. It's already so much the time that that's why we will have a very intense meditation. And I want to read also for you something what is important to remember. So let us start from that we, first of all, we are grateful for Master DK, and we unite ourselves even more stronger, from heart to heart, from mind to mind, and soul to soul. And focus on your own triangle or triangles while I'm reading this text. Within the body of the planetary logos, humanity is slowly building that which they call the Antakarana. This is in reality the linking thread between the head center of Sanat Kumara and his heart center. Ponder on these words. There is a mystery involved here, and it is little that I can do to make it clearer. As humanity builds or creates the triangles of light and of goodwill, they are in reality invoking a response activity from the two of the Buddhas of activity, the one who works through the medium of the will aspect, and the one who works through love in humanity, intelligently applied. Forget not that these three great Buddhas summarize in a peculiar sense the transmuted essence of the previous solar system, in which intelligent activity was the goal. Today, that essence underlies all the activity of this solar system, but is motivated by love, which was not the case in the earlier manifestation. The Buddhas themselves form a deeply esoteric triangle. So now when we are focusing in our own triangles, we also manifest on Earth an esoteric triangle. In that sense, in our own horizontal level. And now we will invoke the soul and the soul of those who are participating in our own triangle or triangle work. And let us have, let's say, 2 minutes silence. Visualize now the flow of love and goodwill passing between the members of your triangle or triangles. And we feel this energy. We visualize the flow of spiritual light passing between the members of our triangle and triangles. And feel the quality of the illumination. And recognize the difference, what happens in the etheric field when we do our work. We link our triangle or triangles with the network of global triangles. We realize that this network of triangles is connected to the great Shambhalic triangle of the three Buddhas of activity in Shambhala. We hold that visualizing our triangles and the network of triangles and the three great Buddhas in Shambhala. And we sound very consciously the great invocation, knowing that we are trying to get the response from these great deities and spiritual potencies. And let us try to do this like only one sound when we sound the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. And when we are finishing our meditation, we still reflect that mystery, how we are related to the work, building Antakarana and linking these threads between the head center of Sanat Kumara and his heart center. And we imagine humanity redeemed. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to you. Okay, friends, it's deep material, and we persist. Tonight at 5 p.m. GMT, we have our Dissipation of Glamour webinar. And Michael, I just want to ask you, were there any little chirps going on, or did we get rid of the little bird?
I heard.
Are you there?
Yes, I heard no chirps during the webinar.
Okay. So now we've been having a chirping electrical system, and it appears to be okay during webinars and a little problematic during broadcasts. We're working on it. So anyway, at 5 p.m. GMT today, Dissipation of Glamour webinar, and tomorrow at 5 p.m. again, it'll be a broadcast with or without chirping, we'll see, and it will be invoking the soul of nations. So Sunday, as I say, I think we will not be able to broadcast from the train. We'll give it a try, but I don't think so. Thank you for your attendance, and well, we have a lot of esoteric work to do, and we must have confidence in it. It's beneath the surface, and hardly anybody knows what we're really doing, but we have the assurance of the master and the masters that it can be and will be effective if rightly done. So many blessings, lots of love, and we'll see you before long. Okay, all the best. See you later in another, I don't know what, another 10 hours, something like that. Bye-bye for now.